All right. Welcome to the podcast. Ramzi?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Ramzi Shalabi. Is that how we pronounce it?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so I mean, before we get into some questions, I just wanted to briefly introduce you by saying some of the things I already said before we started this, which is, you know, when I discovered that you had interviewed Sam Pink, I was excited because there's not a ton of Sam Pink interviews out there, and Sam Pink is one of the most interesting writers to me. So I was like, oh, sweet. If this guy likes Sam Pink, that's already a sign of some common interest. And then I saw that you had interviewed Megan Boyle, who I also love, and Brad Warner, who serendipitously is the person who created the Zen Center that I go to. Um, so your interview show is called Dyads, right?
hmm
Is that still active? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, I just have it, just picking people that like I want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've gotten really lucky in it, and I've gotten like people I really want to talk to,
Yeah.
or like people I really admire, and yeah, I still want to do it. Like I've actually recorded like a couple, like with friends, and then we sort of looked at them and we're like, let's maybe redo it or something,
Mm-hmm.
or do it better.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have a blog where I would just do, typed interviews with people basically where, I would send them questions and it actually at one point it did turn into me sending them questions and then they would respond with a video response. But anyways, yes, I love interviewing people as well. And it feels so good when somebody you admire so much is like, yeah, sure. And what do you have to lose really by just asking? The worst thing that's going to happen is like, no.
Absolutely.
But I feel like people are more willing to do interviews than you might think, no matter how big they are.
hmm
Um, well, I am interested in your, you know, you being drawn to alt lit and stuff like that. How can you say anything about how you discovered writers like Sam Pink and Megan Boyle?
Yeah, yeah, I know the moment. It was like New Year's after second Obama election, I think. And I was sitting in a car with my friend, and he had Tao Lin's first poetry book, and he pulled it out and he started like reading them aloud, or like he passed it to me and had me, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
So Tao Lin was like the gateway.
Yeah.
And then through that, it just branched off to like Noah Cicero and Megan and Sam Pink and a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. I have you read any Scott McClanahan by chance?
A little bit, but I haven't gotten one of his books yet.
He's great. He's right
Yeah,
up there
yeah,
with
he's
with
cool.
all the people you mentioned. And in my opinion, he's because I don't actually read a whole lot of novels and short stories anymore. But whenever Scott McClanahan and Sam Pink are probably my favorite story writers. So
Yeah.
they keep it exciting. The way that I think about Sam Pink is that he makes me feel like being inside. He makes me feel more excited about being inside my own head almost because the inside of his head is so interesting. you know?
Yeah, I got to
Um,
read one of his books.
yeah, yeah.
What one would you recommend?
Scott McClanahan. I honestly every single book he's released is just fire. Like the
Maybe the beginning.
yeah, I would probably start from the beginning. Um Crapalacha is the first one that's popping into my head.
Mm-hmm.
That one's really good. So, and that wasn't the first one. That was probably the third or fourth, but really, really strong. But yeah, man, let's dive into some spiritual stuff.
It's my
If
favorite
you
thing
if
to talk
you
about. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So first I wanted to ask this Zen question that I've been asking at the beginning of the episodes. It's from an old Zen koan. And the question is, all things return to the one. Where does the one return to?
Nothing.
Okay,
To the
that's fair.
zero.
to zero. Yeah.
And then it goes
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, it goes back to that infinite potential of zero and then manifests again or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like I'm cheating a little bit because I saw like your interviews before, and yeah, so I had that. Maybe
that's okay.
you have another one like that I haven't heard, maybe.
Well, this is my plan, is that I'm probably going to ask many of my guests to return for part 2. And so when somebody returns, I will ask them a different question. Like, I want to have that as the question that I ask everybody on part 1. So I'll ask you another one next time if we do part 2, which would be fun.
Cool.
So let's dive in a little bit to your past, if that's cool. Did you grow up in a religious family or a religious context when you were young?
Yeah, in a certain kind of way, like not in a forceful way, like or orthodox kind of way, but like my mom is really into Hinduism, and like she was like my parents met in India and got married in India. My dad's from Syria, my mom's from New York, and yeah, she as a younger woman was a follower of Muktananda,
Mm-hmm.
who was like a guru guy, and yeah, when she was in India, I think she was at Muktananda's ashrams. She was staying at those.
Cool.
And my dad is also, I mean, super knowledgeable and spiritual guy, who growing up in, well, he was born in Syria, but then as like a young boy got sent to boarding school in India, and I guess just living in India, you're going to get they have so many religions there, and so he learned about everything, and he sort of identifies now as Baha'i. He thinks Baha'i is the best.
Cool.
Because it incorporates everything into it, like it's just like inclusive of all religions.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but like as a kid, I sort of identified as atheist before I knew what atheists were.
Mm-hmm.
As I've grown older, I've yeah, sort of understood what God is, and or just like, I don't know, yeah, how other people kind of have it wrong, maybe, or I don't know if that's right. Yeah, that's short. To answer your question shortly, like, yeah, I really was. My parents like religion a lot.
Well, that's lucky that you had parents that were so spiritually engaged and knowledgeable. And my parents are religious, but they're pretty traditional Christian, so I didn't get other spiritual, flavors of other spiritual traditions when I was young. I had to find that for myself.
For sure.
Now I'm curious, like, what was it that led you to feel like you were atheist early on?
Well, just like kind of seeing through the bullshit. It's okay. It's okay to curse.
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. Just seeing through like the way people really have it wrong when they're talking about God. Like just seeing how, I don't know, as simple as like, they're telling you, I don't know, there's a old man who's like the person in charge or whatever, and like
Mm-hmm.
just like see that it's sort of a cartoon, and just like also just like I don't know. I really liked I liked all the Bible stories and stuff when I was a kid. I liked David and Goliath and Samson. So I was like into all that stuff, and I don't know. I guess I have my own understanding of what God is, and I remember like being like really young and sort of asking like, what is God? And my mom saying like, God is everything. And so I was like, yeah, it's like all creation. It's just like whatever the creative force is, and it's not like something to, I don't know. I saw it being used to control people, and so I'm just kind of like, fuck you, like don't tell me what to do. And so I was just like that.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah. Um, so something when you said all of creation and you said kind of the creative force,
Yeah.
I think about it like that too. It reminds me of, there's like pantheism, which sees God as the universe or as all of creation, basically kind of identical with God. And then panentheism is seeing God as both immanent and transcendent. And those two branches I've been trying to reflect on for myself, like whether I'm more of a pantheist or a panentheist, um, because part of me does kind of equate God with reality itself, but I also do feel drawn to the notion that God is transcendent as well, even on the level of like, if if God is if God is being itself, for example,
Yeah.
then being itself does for like me, I am being, but being itself transcends me as an individual because it's much bigger than me, because being itself is omnipresent everywhere. So how do you feel about those two things?
No, I agree. It is the way you put it, immanent. Like, so it's what you kind of have right in front of you, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also transcendent. It's everything you can't see. Also,
Yeah, right on. Well, do you feel like when you were young or even to this day that you've had any quote unquote spiritual experiences?
oh, big time. I mean, life,
Can you tell us
life.
about any of those?
Uh, I mean, I guess a cheap way to put it would be like life is a spiritual experience. You know.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, dreams. Dreams is like my earliest memories are dreams that I had like really early on, and looking back on them, it's like, oh yeah, those were really weird, symbolic spiritual experiences. Like I have this, like one of my early dreams is like I was in there was a bullpen, and like I was with a friend or something, and I went into the bullpen, or like a corral, like at a ranch or something. And so I climbed over the wooden thing and I got in there with the bull, and then it was started to chase me, and like I was running from it, and then I saw my mom like leaning against like the wooden thing, and she was looking out and like like not at me, she was looking somewhere else, and I was trying to scream and I couldn't scream, the thing was coming out. So then I had to keep running from the bull, and and then yeah, I'm running around and I fall down. There's like a tree inside of the corral that I fall kind of in front of, and I look up at the tree, and then like this baby bird, like a dead baby bird, like falls out of the tree, and then I can sort of hear the bull coming, and then like the dream ends. And then
Mm.
that, but yeah, like also psychedelic stuff. I mean, meditation. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should talk about like what we mean by when we're saying spirituality, because I feel like that is always like the word love or art or God.
Yes.
Like it's used in like all these kinds, like whatever way you want to use it.
Yes.
And so, what I mean when I'm talking like spirituality
Mm-hmm.
is stuff that puts you in like the perspective that you're sort of like a soul. I guess simply like you're a soul operating that like has a body, and that death. Spirituality really comes down to like not fearing death, and knowing that like this is a process that you're going through, and and you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
And that life is like a school. Like all these are lessons. Like every conflict is the lesson for you that you came to learn, and whether that's true or
Mm.
not, like in the way that you think about it in like a type of way, it makes you a better person, and so it's still the
Yeah.
best way to live life.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this. The truth is what is useful when it comes to spiritual stuff.
Yeah,
And so sometimes it's like putting on a lens or seeing reality through a lens that might not be literally true, if it is useful in the sense that it makes your life, if you feel more connected or more empowered or something like that, and more curious and more engaged and more willing to grow and learn and be transformed, then I think that's good. Yeah, I like what you I like that you were you felt the need to say, like, well, what is it that we even mean when we say spiritual? Because obviously it is a super ambiguous word, and that's part of why I use it on this podcast, because I do want people to kind of like, just respond in however they associate with spirituality. But it is very vague. You're right. Oh wow. Sorry,
that's okay.
I think somebody was calling me or something.
Okay.
Um, okay. Yeah. So dreams and psychedelic experiences, maybe meditation experiences. I appreciate you sharing that one dream. That's a fascinating one. Um, and I appreciate your thoughts on what spirituality means to you, or what it means to be a spiritual person. And I guess you would say that reality itself is spiritual, living, existing itself is a spiritual experience. So there's kind of nothing that is not
Exactly.
spiritual.
Yeah.
Um, and so is there anything more you would say? Because, I've been, if you've watched a previous episode, you may have heard me say this, sorry, but I also feel I think it's useful to bring this up, because I see like these three branches of experience, practice, and philosophy. I see those as three of the pillars of living the spiritual life or something. And whether experience in the sense of something like an altered state or a dream that's or something out of the ordinary, or just simply that experience on a day-to-day level can be spiritualized, or the spiritual nature of it can be revealed, that sort of thing. But can you say anything else about what you see as your own spiritual philosophy at this point in your life?
To take everything as a lesson, and to like the best of my ability to try to resolve it all with love,
Mm,
from a true place, like not, like which is hard because we get angry and resentful and all, and people hold grudges. So all kinds of stuff. So just to, yeah, all religion and everything is just about how to have, it's just rules for a good society to try, and how to deal with your neighbor. It's really
yeah.
that, it comes down to being that simple. Just what's the best way to deal with people, and in like evolved way. And I heard a great saying from someone, I don't know where it comes from, but he said that this life is a rope stretched across an abyss with an
Mm,
animal on one end and a god at the other. And basically, we're overcoming our animal selves to reach our God selves.
mm, mm. Yeah, that reminds me of something that Terrence McKenna said. He may have been quoting somebody else, but like just the notion that human beings are like, you know, apes and angels at the same time,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And that's what's so wild about the human experience, is that we seem to be made in the image of God or something, but we're also animals. And um
Yeah,
yeah, I like that the one side animal and one side God.
yeah, and it's
That's
over an
cool.
abyss too. So
Over an
like,
abyss.
if you die, and you've not like, and you don't, you didn't reach the other side, or if you like think about like that tightrope. You ever see that movie with the guy who walks across Twin Towers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great metaphor for life too, right? Because like, but if you fall into the abyss, I also have some kind of feeling like I really like Gurdjieff and like Alejandro Jodorowsky and like some of these kind of people, and they say this life is, you need to create your soul, or else you'll die into the abyss and you'll be reincarnated with whatever pieces are left of you, maybe, and you'll become an animal or whatever. I do kind of believe in reincarnation. But that, that we have an opportunity as humans right now to crystallize our soul, whatever it's made out of, so we can keep going after the death of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So much is coming up for me because I was going to ask you about Gurdjieff. I always said Gurdjieff, but then I hear people say Gurdjieff, and
I don't know the right way to say it.
I think it might be Gurdjieff, but either way, I knew that you were interested in him, and he's fascinating. Yeah. I haven't gotten around to reading the Tales of Beelzebub. I know that's one of your favorite books, right?
Oh, I told you that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, dude. Nobody reads that book. Like, it's such a good book.
It's like I heard it's amazing, and I've read about it, and I've read passages, and I read In Search of the Miraculous or whatever. Yeah. That was written about.
That's Ouspensky, right?
That's Ouspensky.
I haven't read that one yet.
That one's amazing, and it lays, apparently, like, people say that if you want to know about Gurdjieff's work or whatever, then read The Search of the Miraculous, and that's why I read it, and it is outstanding, and it's really all about Gurdjieff, but I do want to read the Tales of Beelzebub because I heard it's fantastic. So but before we talk more about your interest in him, because I do want to ask you about that, it's interesting that you mentioned him and you mentioned Jodorowsky, because I have some tarot cards just laying around in front of me because I'm really into tarot, and Jodorowsky is very into tarot, and he's like so knowledgeable, and I've seen videos where he talked about, like, he he has every detail of every card memorized. It's awesome, and he can see them all in his head without them being in front of him. And and then when you were mentioning the animal stuff, it automatically made me think of the strength card, which I made a video about the other day, because it has the lion, and to me the strength card is all about navigating our own animalness, and but doing it I personally do not think that it's all about, as far as living as a human being, I don't think it's all about transcending our animalness. I think it's about utilizing our animalness and not letting it run us, and not having a certain, like, we're curating that, or we're making friends with it, or even training it. But using the potent power of it, because, like, the lion is often the symbol of strength and fearlessness and courage, which I don't think that we can part ways with. I think courage and fearlessness is extremely important. So that's the way I think about animalness inside of me.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
But I did want to touch on the reincarnation thing, because that's something, I definitely, some of my spiritual views get pretty far out, but and reincarnation is something that I guess I would say that I'm still agnostic about. I did watch a documentary recently that was pretty persuasive, about, consciousness definitely continuing after the physical body has gone. But yeah, so can you say anything about your views on reincarnation? Like, you feel like, because for me it's always tempting to say that our consciousness just dissolves back into infinity or something like that, but you think that there's something that carries on from life to life, right? Like, that's more individualized.
And well, like I was saying before, like, maybe it's a process of, you lived other human lives before, and we're able to sort of crystallize that thing a little bit, but not all the way, and so you're still coming back, and you still got a little bit of it with you. But like, I mean, when the time that it really, like, became true for me was during a a mushroom trip, a really intense mushroom trip. And I don't know if I should tell the whole story because it might take up too much time, but like in it, I was just sitting on the couch and I don't know, like downloads of information or just like real, I don't know how it works, right? You know, maybe the mushroom's talking to you, you're just like, but you're sort of realizing a lot of things about reality. And in that, it was just like, oh yeah, reincarnation is just the way it is. And like, you're just going to keep that just seemed true as day to me, that you're just going to keep, that this is what it is and it keeps going and it's infinite. And so don't be afraid because there's always tomorrow. And like, and like, maybe that's not the best advice for every situation. There's always tomorrow, but like, well, that's just sort of the way I felt about it at the time. And I still kind of just trust that, you know. I mean, you have these realizations and they sort of fade away, but then you remember that you, at that time, you really fucking got it.
So
you just trust it. That's sort of faith, I guess.
You
forgot how it works, maybe, or why it happens that way.
I you know, I mean, for the most part, when I think about reincarnation, until recently, I've been just kind of exploring different ideas about it. But for a long time, I just thought about reincarnation as, you know, symbolic for this life that we're living right now, in the sense that we are constantly being reincarnated into our own life right now. You know what I mean? Like constantly being kind of reborn. And we can embrace that and pursue that, and like kind of, I think that it can be really healing and empowering to continue to be reborn. And often, like these days, I think about rebirth in the context of like the beginner's mind. You know, when we cultivate the beginner's mind, we're like constantly being reborn and kind of like emptying out. It's like defragging the program or something. Like we're emptying out our trash can or whatever, and like being renewed at any given moment. So I like to think about reincarnation like that. But on a more you know, life to life level, I like what you're saying, and like we were saying earlier about the truth is what is useful. You know, it can be a really useful model to think, okay, you know, I'm in this life to learn these lessons. You know, life is this school, this university that is teaching me all the time, and I'm continuing to evolve from lifetime to lifetime. And so I dig what you're saying about that.
It's also like, where does all this stuff, like we sort of come here as a I haven't had children yet, but you know, you hear it from people who do it. It's like they're like they're an already like a person, you know, that's all, like that has all these quirks and idiosyncrasies. And it's like, where does that come from? It's like, you know, I mean, it's like genetics. Genetics might just be another way of looking at reincarnation. Like maybe you're the reincarnation, or like you're your great grandfather, like coming back again, or something like that.
Right.
In your genetic path, you know what I mean? And maybe like in an actual way, it actually works like that or something. You know, who knows?
You know, some of this makes me think about this thing that happened in Buddhist history, like going from Hinayana to Mahayana or whatever, because Hinayana, among other things, was like, you know, reincarnation was a part of their model, and this idea of like stepping off the wheel of samsara, you know, that was what like enlightenment kind of was, is you're stepping off of like being reborn again. But then a big thrust of like the Mahayana tradition was saying, well, isn't that like kind of selfish or something, you know, like why not try to you know, relieve the suffering of other beings and all that stuff. And that's where the whole idea of like the bodhisattva comes from, where it's like you've reached awakening, but you are refusing to step off of the wheel, either whether we think about that as like in this one individual life, or whether we're like, you know, maybe after we lose this physical body, we're sent to this space where we can't, I mean, this is just a thought experiment, I don't think this is literal, but maybe you know, choose to be reborn again, to keep doing the work, whether it's we're working on awakening others or working on our own awakening or something like that. So that came up for me. And then lately I've been thinking about like soul and spirit, and again, whenever I'm coming up with these models of these things, like I'm just trying to come up with something that seems useful and fun to think about, kind of. But I think about soul, and I'm not talking about an individual soul. I'm talking about like oversoul or like big soul. And the way I think about that is just basically that which remembers.
Yes.
In the sense of, even like, what's his name? Sadhguru always talks about like, you don't know what your great 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 grandfather's face looks like, but his nose is sitting on your face. And so it's like reality has this memory, these traces that continue to get stored and carried on. You could think about it like Carl Jung's collective unconscious. You could think about it like Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenetic fields and stuff. That's the way I think about soul.
Yeah.
And it changes and it's dynamic and it evolves. And then spirit is that which is not conditioned, that which actually transcends all conditioning, in the sense. And so in our own direct experience, like when we have even those meditative moments where we're more of the watcher, more pure consciousness, we're conscious of the arising of sensations and emotions and thoughts that are constantly changing. But the consciousness itself that is witnessing that is not being changed by those things. So I think about spirit as that which is unconditioned, and soul as that which is conditioned.
That's interesting. Gurdjieff brings up a lot in the book, Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson, that humans are 3-brained beings. So maybe it kind of fits with that, or something, like we sort of have 3 brains.
Yeah, can you either talk about that more, or anything that, why is it that book resonates with you so much?
It's just a super fascinating book. It has so much in it. For anybody that wants just like a quick sort of thing about it, it's all dialogue, really, and it's all dialogue between a grandfather and his grandson, and they're on a. The Beelzebub isn't like everybody's going to be thinking of Lord of the Flies or like Satan or something, but it's just sort of the name of this, like he's sort of like a Saiyan kind of being, like a like Goku, like he's a humanoid but he has a tail. He has the monkey tail, and he's been stuck on Earth for like 1,000 years or something, and as punishment maybe, or just like he got stuck there or something. And so the ship came, and he's on the ship, and the ship is it's propelled by changing its center of gravity to where it wants to go, and then it falls towards it. So so like, does that make sense? So,
yeah.
So you're like in space, and like you want to go to Venus, so you change what like the center of gravity is to Venus, so then you just fall towards Venus. And so anyway, and it's also like a glass ship, and Beelzebub is just telling just all the stories of what he saw on Earth to his grandson. And there's like a few other people there sitting around too, and they chime in from time to time. And but it's all in quotations, and like it's all a dialogue, and it just incorporates so much in it. I mean, just from like how humans like should like how we're made to go to the bathroom, like we should be squatting, but like Europeans developed these seats which actually atrophy the muscles we need to shit properly. So when you like, and you go to like third world countries, they didn't forget that like everybody squats when they go to the bathroom. They just have the hole in the ground and stuff. Better for you that way. You get it all out that way, and you're not like sitting there just like waiting for the poop to come. You're just like actually are able to get it out because you have muscles that are made to push it all out when you do that. And so that's like a thing that's in there, but it also has all this other stuff. It has stuff about the Kunda, called I think it's a different thing than Kundalini. He calls it the Kunda buffer.
Hmm.
And I don't have a full understanding of this stuff totally yet, but like, yeah, like the Kunda buffer is a really interesting part of it.
Hmm.
People should read it and check it out. And the book is like the first science fiction book as far as I can tell, but it's uncredited as that, because you see this whole story, I'm telling you, this is all like very science fiction, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even realize how science fiction-y it was.
And it's totally that, and it's before any other one. It's before
Wow, yeah.
science fiction book.
Because was it written in the 20s or 30s?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I like about his teachings is that it's like, it seems like he's very well, for one, he's about working on like the everyday experience rather than like escaping from that. It's like, no, this right here, your own body, your own life right now, this. And he's about like maybe, you know, finding some sort of holistic like balance between, you know, mental, emotional, and physical, and spiritual, I guess. But he seems like a very, like, he's got some far out stuff, but he seems very grounded. I like that.
Yeah, me too. And like, people will probably find when they try to read him, like, that he makes sentences he has really long, like kind of convoluted sort of, or just many parted sentences, a lot of commas and just sort of like almost digressions, but it's kind of impeccably put together, because like, if you just like, you'll get into the rhythm of it once you start reading it and stuff. But like, yeah, they're like sort of these long sentences that include a lot of things, and they make your mind, he does it intentionally, I think, to make your mind start working to understand, because, you know, that's the only way you're like really gonna understand anything, is if you work to understand.
Right.
And I've heard things about like he would write things and then he would give it to his followers, and if they understood it too easily, he would make it more complicated.
I love that. Oh gosh, yeah, he's got some sort of gravitational pull toward him. Like, it's he seems like one of the most interesting like spiritual figures of the 20th century for sure. And another thing that really stands out about him is that he is so he really encourages the work, like you're saying. He encourages effort and work, which is somewhat different from other, you know, I mean, obviously there are several spiritual traditions that do emphasize like effort and work, but, you know, I guess for me, like I've been drawn to Zen for so many years, and although Zen does have its own high level of discipline and stuff, it also is very like, no, you know, watch out to have like, it almost discourages having specific intentions. Whereas Gurdjieff is like the opposite. It's like, no, we are working and we're putting in effort. And, you know?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. And you know, reading that book In Search of the Miraculous really highlighted that, or reminded me like, no, having deliberate work, doing deliberate work on yourself is very important.
Yeah, a way he put it was intentional suffering. That was one way he put it. It's just like, I don't know, like you know, you hate your job or whatever that you have to do, you know, to get through, to make the money that you need to get through this life. So just do it intentionally. It's like, okay, bring it on. Like, I'm not going to let you beat me. Yeah, that kind of attitude.
Yeah. You know, he seemed to be very, it's like snapping out of our robotness, you know, snapping out of our unconsciousness.
Yeah, maybe because, you know, I think maybe it was something he saw, or that, you know, a lot of spirituality can also be just escapism.
Right.
And so it's just like, that's not helping.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, it's synchronicities are, you know, like yesterday I was listening. Do you ever listen to Duncan Trussell's podcast by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, Duncan Trussell is like my favorite podcaster, but and his best friend from college, Emil Amos, like sometimes every once in a while he'll get Emil on, and I just love hearing them talk because they have all these old stories, and they've had this ongoing dialogue together for decades, and they've had disagreements and conflicts about views on life and spirituality and all this stuff, but they spent a lot of the episode recently when Emil was on about Camus' essay about the myth of Sisyphus. And so they ended up talking about something similar to what you just said, in the sense of like, even even if we do metaphorically just have to keep on pushing a boulder to the top of the mountain, we might as well be intentional about it. We might as well, not we might as well be conscious during that experience, and we might as well not allow it to cause us to have unnecessary suffering. And I don't know, just this simple empowerment toward our mundane lives can be really important.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's up?
It also could, I mean, it could go back to like reincarnation. Like if you're having to live lives over and over again, might as well do it consciously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. So one quick little thing, in addition to, I told you about my theory about spirit and soul. I told you about the whole experience, philosophy, and practice thing. So we do need to get to practice, and maybe we should do that before I do this other thing. Can you say anything about any practices that you have, whether it's just playing music or any other practices that seem spiritual to you?
Totally. Well, yeah, like music, art. I like doing visual art and like music and videos and stuff. All that is totally spiritual in a way. But yeah, like I was also really lucky early on, or like when I was like 20, I asked, I emailed the David Lynch Foundation if they would give me, if they would pay for me to learn. They would give me a scholarship to learn TM, Transcendental Meditation, and like they turned me down 2 times, but I kept like asking. And then they were like, all right, write David Lynch a letter, like why you think you deserve it more than anybody else. And they were saying no because they don't give it to, or at least back then they didn't. Um, they don't give it to like just a single person. Like their idea was like, we'll teach it to a classroom of kids, and it'll be part of their curriculum, and we'll have meditation time for the kids, and it'll make learning better and stuff. So it was kind of not their thing to like just be giving it to like people asking for it. I may have been part of why they, because talk about synchronicity. It's like really crazy. I also have like this best friend who I didn't know, but he was also asking David Lynch for this. And
Wow.
I wrote David Lynch that letter, and then I get an email back, sometime later, and they're like, okay, you're gonna get it, but like you have to do a community service for the TM community to like pay for, like we'll pay for half of it, and then you can do community service to pay for like the other half. And it was like this crazy thing. So like this friend I have who goes by Elevator Teeth, he's a great artist. I'll give him a shout out. Everybody should check out Elevator Teeth. So he's my friend who also just loves David Lynch as much as I do. So I call him up right away, but he didn't answer his phone. So I left a message. I was like, dude, you're not gonna believe this, blah, blah, blah. David Lynch gave me a scholarship. And unbeknownst to me, he also got an email saying that he got a scholarship. And so he was like hearing this thing, like and he was like, what, that happened to me? So he calls me back, and it's just this crazy thing. And they didn't know that we were friends. They didn't know that we knew each other, but me and him are the first like single individuals, as far
That's wild.
as far as I know, to be gifted this like scholarship for TM. So I've kept up TM, not as well as I should, but as I do it, I mean, all the time.
Has it been effective for you?
Oh yeah, that is really good. Yeah, TM is super. What do I say about it? I mean, I don't want to like say the wrong thing. Like, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's great, like, because some people could be like, oh, it'll help you sleep better, or like, oh, it just like, but that those are kind of like selling it short. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's not for that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, but it's really good. It helps you just kind of to have a mantra in your mind. I mean, one thing I sort of learned from it is just like, they say they give you a special mantra. I mean, like, you know, are they giving you a special one, or could you use any of them? Part of me,
Mm-hmm.
you could maybe use anything, because it's just to keep something going on in your mind, and it's sort of like a wheel that's spinning, and all the, like, you'll still have other thoughts going. You can keep it up and have other thoughts going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a wheel, and just sort of throws off the thoughts that are coming, and you still have that same thing going. So yeah, TM is really great, but I also have to give shout out to Vipassana meditation. I did a Vipassana retreat, one of those 12 days silent in the desert in California.
Wow.
And in a way, it's superior to mantra, because you're not using that. You're really, Vipassana is about your body sensations. That's what your focus is on, instead of like, you know, casting away your other thoughts and coming back to the mantra. You're coming back to the sensations in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Vipassana, that was like a really great, difficult but rewarding experience. Vipassana.
Yeah, were the challenges of that 12-day retreat like brutal, and did it get worse or better by the end of the retreat?
It got better. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, like, yeah. To share my personal experience of it, I was having a hard time the first like 3 days, and I was almost planning to like leave in the middle of the night and stuff. I was like,
Mm.
you know, I mean, because like, you really get confronted, like, oh, did you want to meditate? Like, because you're gonna meditate, that's all you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, did you really want to do this? And then it's sort of like, oh man, like, how bad do you want it, or whatever? And like, yeah, I was sort of bored. I guess it was simple as just boredom.
Yeah.
You know. And to be honest, I got the point where I had a breakthrough is where I stopped doing what they were telling me to do. I started thinking about just stuff I wanted to think about, and I was thinking
Mm.
like, I was thinking about writing essays about stuff. I was thinking about
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things, and then I was also sort of cheating. Like, I left uh, my room, like, well, they have a big room where you're all meditating together, but once you get into it enough, they tell you can go to your room and just meditate there if you want. So I would do that, and at the time where I sort of like had the breakthrough, I went out for a walk while everybody was meditating, and I was singing, and I was sort of singing to myself and looking out at the mountains there, and I really started to feel really happy. And then when I got back to doing the meditation, it was like super deep, and and then I was like into it, and it was getting like some like interesting sort of experiences like start happening. And so I don't know what the lesson there is maybe like, you know, sometimes, you know, don't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Like, sometimes let go,
Yeah.
and you'll have the strength to push better.
Yeah.
Let go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I recommend it. Vipassana.
Yeah, I respect that you did such a long retreat. I've always been a little scared to do that. I think I'd probably feel the way you did during the first few days. And yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's important to not push yourself unnecessarily hard. I guess there's like a balance there, because you know it's important to push yourself harder than you might initially want to push yourself, because we, you know, fall victim to laziness and boredom and stuff like that, distraction and whatever. But at the same time, you don't want to just cause a bunch of unnecessary suffering for yourself. And you know, you find your own way. You find your own way to do what is most effective. Um, and so, as the last note about the practice thing, I mean, I've listened to your music before, and it's pretty like wild. It's pretty wild, and And I can imagine that playing that music is a spiritual experience. So, you know, what does it feel like when you're playing your music?
I mean, like, I don't know. You get to drumming is my favorite because like, but really I like playing everything. But like, yeah, you end up in a place where you're just like, I don't know, it's moving, and
Mm-hmm.
you can almost watch it move out of you a little bit. But like, then you could fall out of it if you're watching too much. So
Mm.
it's like a balance thing. It's hard. That's a good question. It's hard to say exactly what.
Does it feel transportive? Like, do you feel like you're transporting yourself a little bit into another space?
Yeah, with drumming especially, it could be like that. Like, yeah,
And do you like lose track of time when you're
yeah,
playing? Is it like a flow state?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know what you listened to. Did you listen to like the anti-mask wet dream thing?
Yeah, I listened to that. I listened to a couple, but that was one of them.
Okay, yeah. Like well, yeah, these things I make them as like it's an hour jam. It's not made in pieces or anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just basically do like a drum practice, and then I play instruments over it, and it's all 1 hour jams
That's awesome.
over each other. Yeah.
That's fun.
So yeah, you get in the zone, and then it's like before the end, and then it's like over, and yeah, the sense of time is
Dissolved.
kind of ambiguous. Like yeah, it goes by, and then, like the more fun you're having, the faster it goes by, and like
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool.
Nice. Well, I guess as a last question, I mean, we should do part two because this is fun, and I think
I'm
we
down.
could talk about this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
But I got to teach a class here in a bit. So, but as a last note, like I've been thinking about like three branches of spirituality, and um one of the reason, part of me feels like these are kind of maybe three of the main branches of spirituality, but also I feel like it's maybe these are just the three branches that I'm most drawn to, and that's why I see it this way. But basically, like I see one as magic, which can mean all sorts of things, but basically like empowerment and manifestation and symbolism and ritual and trying to use techniques to bring about certain changes and stuff like that. Like that's the magic side of that's the magic path or that's the spiritual path that is more revolving around magic.
Yeah.
And then you have the second branch, and not to say that these are in any sort of order, it's just, but the second one is like stillness, which is basically trying to cultivate and access and activate stillness or emptiness or presence or spaciousness. And more of what I was saying about spirit being the unconditioned, it's almost like that vibe where you're trying to like tap into the unconditioned openness and emptiness of whatever. And then the third would be like more of the ethical orientation, where you're like more devoted to community and relieving others' suffering and increasing well-being for yourself and others, and maybe more socially uh, driven and even political activism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which one of those are you most drawn to?
The magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I spent over a decade doing massage therapy. That's what my dad is a master at.
Cool.
And also my great grandfather also did that. So it's sort of my lineage. And so I did, that's part of the ethical one. I was giving myself to people every day, trying to help their bodies open up to heal themselves.
Mm.
And to teach them like stretches and all these kinds of things. Like, so I love each branch is good. Yeah, each branch is
Yeah,
fun.
me too.
I love it. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. And in the book that I'm writing, I feel like I'm trying to look at all of them, incorporate all of them, and that's part of the journey right now when I'm writing the book, is like, how do I make sense of my love for all of these things?
Yeah. I think magic is just, it's the one I've kind of come later to in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I touched on it in my early 20s but didn't go that deep into it and was just thinking like, yeah, that's something eventually I'm going to have
Mm-hmm.
to figure that stuff out. There's something to that stuff. I definitely want to figure that out, but I was just interested in other things or whatever.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I read a lot about that kind of stuff now.
Me too. Yeah, I feel like magic has been like an undercurrent in my life since I can remember, really. I think I've kind of always believed in magic, and but it's only been in the last couple of years that I've been like explicitly diving into exploring it, reading about it, practicing it, coming up with my own, you know, magical practices and stuff. And have you read anything about chaos magic by any chance?
Sure. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That's great. I love chaos magic because it's just more free. And it's because when I read about like ceremonial magic sometimes, and I've been watching oh, what's that guy's name? The dude that was part of he was in prison for a long time. He was
Oh yeah,
falsely accused.
Eccles, Damien.
Yeah, Damien Eccles. He's awesome. I love him. But some of the practices that he, talks about in his videos, um, they seem great and they've done a lot for him, but some of the symbolism and stuff just doesn't resonate with me. So it's like it's one of
Yeah.
those things where you don't want to, similar to what we were saying a minute ago, like you don't want to force yourself to do something if it's not helpful for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I
So
felt
chaos
that,
magic is cool because you come up with your own stuff.
exactly. Yeah, I felt that same way in like reading Aleister Crowley and stuff. Like when you get like the ceremonial stuff was the stuff I was like really interested in, but then when I got to it, I was like, oh, this is kind of just like cheesy poetry or whatever. Just so like it really didn't hit. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the way this works is like you put on a robe and you have like candles and stuff, and then you go, oh Pan, or whatever. And it's like
Yeah.
kind of cheesy. I mean, I've also heard, some kind of people talking about it that, it's also like the morphogenic field. Like when you're doing these things, you're joining in with the whole lineage of people who have been doing it for like a long time.
Yeah.
And so maybe it does work, but I haven't. But like you said, like it just isn't where I'm at
Yeah.
exact. But yeah, Grant Morrison is sort of who turned me on to the chaos magic thing. I saw that talk. Have you seen that talk? Do you know Grant Morrison?
Yeah.
He did that talk at like a conference thing, and he's
I
telling
did see that a few years ago. Yeah.
dreams at the beginning of it, and like he tells them to like practice sigil magic and stuff. And then I was like, oh, and that's what actually got me on the path to learning more about the chaos magic stuff. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I like this guy. I'm gonna read this. His books are incredible.
Cool. I haven't read his books. I have. I don't know. Dang, I don't see it right now. But there's one book about chaos magic that I really like, and I have done several sigils. I do like. Actually, I have a sigil. Well, it's basically. I guess it's. The way that Damien talks about it is it's a talisman or whatever. But I made this last night. I plan to burn it at the end of the month. And I do my girlfriend and I do a full moon ritual every full moon, and we do a tarot reading that night. And I'm gonna create one of these that represents my intention for the month, and I'm gonna carry it with me all month, and then burn it at the next ritual, and then create a new one. So this is actually ended up being a symbol for gratitude, because that's what I'm trying to manifest this month. And so I wrote out gratitude and crunched it and did everything to turn it into this. So, and it's kind of like glasses, and that made sense because gratitude is like a certain lens to look at the world through. Last question, Ramzi. Again, thank you so much. And then after I ask this question, I want you to tell the viewer where they can find your music and your show and stuff.
All right.
The last question is, in addition to our conventional five senses, what is the sixth sense?
Intuition.
Love it.
Yeah. I guess that would be it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like do you feel like an intuitive person?
Oh yeah, I mean, it gets proven to me sometimes, just kind of like, well, you have that and you follow it and it turns out to be right, and you have it and you don't follow it and then you see that you were wrong, but that you had that you didn't know before.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, hey man, so
Yeah.
where should people go to listen to your music? SoundCloud?
Right now, yeah, I have a few things on SoundCloud. I have a Bandcamp it's my name, but I am about to, well, I changed everything from that to another Bandcamp. I'm sort of starting fresh, and I have a piano album that I'm going to put out this year
Awesome.
of piano music, and that'll be sort of the first album. And so all my older stuff is going to be on Bandcamp under the name Unknown Artist with a 0 for the O in unknown.
Hmm.
And so I'm just going to put all my like old stuff there.
Cool.
Yeah, there's just 4 things on there. There's only 4 things on there right now, but I'm going to just put up, when I feel like it, I'll put up some older stuff. But yeah, SoundCloud and YouTube, Ramzi is the name for that. And also, I'm also getting my website together, so ramzishalabi.com.
Perfect.
Where I'll have it all. Yeah.
And so I'll put the link for your Bandcamp and SoundCloud and YouTube channel, and then your website is still under construction, I guess.
Well, it's there. If you put in ramzishalabi.com, it'll go to, I'm using a Tumblr to be like the hub for all the links to everything. So if you go to that, there's only art on there right now. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be done soon. Yeah.
Great. Well, this was fun, man.
Yeah, man, this was great. Thanks.
Let's do it again, all right?
Yeah. Thank you, dude.
Peace. Have a good one.
Yeah, God bless.
Take care. You too, man.